You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Vengeance. I am the Knight. I am
Matt Laswitz, and welcome to this week's episode of Bat Chat with Matt and Will, a Batman ranking podcast, where each week my co-host Will Nevin and I dig into 3 Batman stories, discuss them, and rank them on the big board, thus creating a giant list of Batman stories from best to worst. Will, how's it going tonight?
No, Matthew, it's going. Matty Lasers, do you want to start with the good or the bad this week?
Oh, let's just get the bad out of the way.
Okay, so the bad. I am methodically going through Tales from the Crypt since it's easily available online now. Would you believe my disappointment when we have an episode that's directed by Tobe Hooper, featuring Whoopi Goldberg, starring Rhys Davies, whatever his first name is?
John Rhys Davies.
Yeah, that's right. I know it's John, but it feels wrong, John. Anyway, yeah, it was a flop. The ending was flat. Whoopi couldn't decide what accent she was using. The lead was a basic nobody. The plot was ho-hum. A big old disappointment. Alas, what are you gonna do?
That's a darn shame.
Okay. So that's the bad. The good. Have you seen the Digger trailer?
No, I haven't.
Not the weird this is a Tom Cruise career retrospective.
Right. I've seen that, but I've not seen the actual trailer.
Well, they have an actual trailer out now, and John Goodman looks hilarious. Tom Cruise in his old man makeup looks hilarious. And I saw somebody shit talking online about how Kubrick can do Strangelove, but not everybody can do Strangelove. I'm like, you motherfucker, this looks like a delightful film. So I'm excited for Digger.
I'll have to check out the trailer later.
Yeah, give that a look. And then a good Tales from the Crypt episode, Reluctant Vampire. Oh, there was a flash of recognition.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if it's a flash of recognition of the episode or the EC comic that it's based on.
Well, it stars Malcolm McDowell.
Okay, I have seen this one.
Yeah. George Wendt is a scene-chewing bad guy. We got the principal from the Breakfast Club as police, and it is absolutely delightful. Malcolm McDowell is having the time of his life. Just a pitch perfect episode, delightful. Vampire stars as the security guard for a blood blank. He's drinking the product, and that doesn't help the bookkeeping at the end of the day. And man's got to make his shortages.
Yes, I do remember seeing that one many years ago.
Delightful episode. And then this was kind of mixed. This one's kind of mixed. We talked off air about this today. The trailer dropped for Michael Mann's final director's cut 40th anniversary edit of Manhunter, but I'm worried it's only going to get an art house release. And you being in the metropolitan center of the world, you ain't got to worry about that. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, do I want to go to Atlanta in August to see this thing?
That's not nowhere you want to be in August. That's way too hot.
Well, I mean, it's not much cooler here, but still, I was hoping for a wider theatrical release, but we might not be getting that.
So I saw 4 movies last weekend.
God damn, Matthew. 1
on Friday night, 1 on Saturday night, and 2 on Sunday.
A twofer.
Yes, did the double feature. Friday night was one of my, I've heard nothing about this. I have not seen a trailer. I looked at the title that I wasn't familiar with. I read the little description. I was like, yeah, I'll give this a shot.
Why not?
Yep, because it doesn't cost me anything. The movie's called Night Nurse. Have you ever seen Cronenberg's Crash?
Yes, and that is one, the superior crash, and two, a very horny picture.
The vibe of Night Nurse, the closest I have seen, is Crash.
Oh, buddy, I'm here for a horny movie.
This is a woman is hired as a night nurse at a retirement community and is assigned to this guy who is supposedly suffering from the beginnings of degenerative dementia. Except he's not.
Ooh,
He is
uh-oh.
pulling a grift
Uh-oh.
where he is doing the fake calls to grandpa from insert granddaughter to get him to get money to get her out of some kind of problem. And he's using the nurses to be his voice on the phone. And this nurse develops an unhealthy obsession with him, while to her, he is just obviously, or to him, she's just obviously another Mark until things go really, really bad.
I know you can easily tell me who is in this movie, but I'm just right now imagining it as Johnny Knoxville in old age makeup, and I'm just gonna continue with that assumption.
The biggest name in this movie is Mimi Rogers as the woman who's in charge of the retirement community. So you might as well, because you're not going to know the guy who plays the old man.
Nice, nice. But kids, do check out Cronenberg's Crash. It is a very weirdly horny movie and a good time. It really is. Peak of his sexuality, James Spader, just smoking hot.
Spader sense is tingling, man. Uh, then Evil Dead Burn, which I really enjoyed.
There have been mixed reviews online.
I liked it. I thought that it got the assignment of being an Evil Dead movie. It's gory as fuck. I liked the lead. I thought the lead character was good. Other actors did a good job playing terrible people. As I said in my review on Letterboxd, with the whole thing about the family dynamic here, this could have been called A Long Day's Journey into Deadite, because all it is a terrible family winding up slowly, all being turned into Deadites, and the daughter-in-law being the one person. And there's a little more heaviness to it than the original Evil Dead movies, in that it's about cycles of abuse and cycles of trauma underneath it. But there are also some absolutely hilarious moments. Not as many as in the Raimi movies.
Well, of course, it's Evil Dead.
That was my thing with Evil Dead Rise. I don't remember Evil Dead Rise being particularly funny. It was gory and creepy, but I don't remember getting any chuckles. Here, there's an old lady with a prosthetic leg, and her prosthetic leg gets used as a weapon at one point or another after she's turned into a Deadite.
It's pretty funny.
And the chaos of the fight going on downstairs as she is slowly riding the electric staircase up the electric chair up the stairs, and you just hear the chaos below.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's a good bit.
And then Sunday, The Invite, the new film from Olivia Wilde, that's really just a four-hander of Olivia Wilde, Seth Rogen, Edward Norton, and Penelope Cruz. This is a really good year for Penelope Cruz. Between this and The Bride, I really enjoyed The Invite. I thought that it was Seth Rogen stretching a little more than usual. Not a ton. He's still pretty much a Seth Rogen character. But there's a little more... but there's a little more effort in there. And I had figured from the trailer, it's made to look like, okay, this is a movie where Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz are going to ask Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde to swing with them. And I was like, no,
Nice.
the trailer is so made to look like that it's going to be Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde think that, and it's going to turn out to be something else entirely, because why would you give that away in the trailer? I forget how trailers work nowadays. So yes,
it's hard.
That is the point. But the movie treats non-monogamy not as a punchline.
Oh, that's good.
Which is so often the way of things. that I'm like, okay, yeah, there are jokes about it, but it's not the punchline. It's not, oh, they're swingers. No. And last, Gail Doherty and the Celebrity Sex Pass.
I have heard mixed reviews about that.
Listen, I am the easiest mark in the world for a movie that comes out from the guys who did The State.
Yeah,
I
that's
am
my kind of comedy.
I am the right age. I loved The State. It worked for me. I can see possibly people not, but listen, it's not Wet Hot American Summer. It's not that laugh out loud funny. But there are some good bits, and John Slattery being a goof for an hour. I was like, okay, good for you for, again, stretching, because John Slattery is usually not the comedian in a movie.
No. But speaking of absurdist comedy, I want to point people to something that I have enjoyed the last couple of weeks. So if you haven't been paying attention, Alex Jones and InfoWars basically went bankrupt. The brand is under the control of The Onion. Tim Heidecker, as the creative director of the new InfoWars, has relaunched a weekly series, and it is hilarious. Just absolutely fucking funny. Their first episode was Alex Jones has exploded like a balloon, and we're investigating the conspiracy behind it. It also is interspersed with some other short bits. It's spot on commentary on just the paranoid far right media ecosystem. It is hilarious. New episodes streaming every Thursday. TheOnion.info. Free plug.
That deserves the free plug.
JFK did not kill himself.
Oh boy. Okay. But we do have comics to talk about, and we have a guest. So let's bring in our guest. Welcome back to the show, friend of the show and Patreon backer John Wickham. How you doing, John?
Hey, Johnny boy.
Hello. This one's a personal attack on Matt.
Yes, it is. Somehow I do not understand. The whole point of your year was to break will, yet you've regularly come at me and succeeded in just slowly but surely breaking my will to live.
Okay, I feel like I should explain how this episode came to be.
What
Okay.
is this episode?
It's the Lobo episode. That's right, the start of the, I guess, hit movie Supergirl? Lobo.
Not really a hit. No, I mean, not a complete flop, I guess, but did not do the numbers they were hoping. My noted least favorite major DC character, Lobo. And you didn't even go with the Sam Keith miniseries or the Alan Grant Simon Bisley one shot. Oh no, we are going all over the joint with some comics.
And hey, some of them are actually okay.
I would have went with the Alan Grant one, but it's not on DC Infinite.
Yeah, it's not easy to come by, which is a shame because it's Simon Bisley drawing Lobo and Alan Grant writing Batman.
It's also Alan Grant writing Lobo, so...
Fair, that too.
I'm gonna tell you right now, the idea of doing a Lobo episode was kind of a bluff I've been joking with Matt and Will for about 2 years now.
Sounds about right.
Like, one of these days, we're gonna do a Lobo episode. And I never intended to do it. DC called my bluff and released the Batman Lobo annual during this week.
Yeah, it should be dropping the week of this episode, so yeah.
So look forward to that in the Comics XX back column, I guess.
Yeah, because that week there's not, it's a fifth week. Gotta love fifth weeks. The only way out is through. So let's get started with our first story of the night, Universe's Finest. This is Batman Superman Volume 1, numbers 28 to 30. The writer is Tom Taylor, with pencils by Robson Rocha, inks by Dexter Vines, Wade von Grawbadger, Norm Rapmund, and Julio Ferreira, colors by Blonde, letters by Rob Lee, and edited by Eddie Berganza, Andrew Marino, and David Wohl. The cover dates are March to May of 2016. An alien giant crashes to the surface of the moon, and its dying gesture is to carve the symbols of Batman and Superman into the surface. The mystery of its death has Batman and Superman chasing a mystery across space that includes the possibility of another living Kryptonian and a collision course with Lobo. Problematic Creator Watch, a regular participant here, noted sexual harasser Eddie Berganza.
Worked for a generation.
Yeah, very long time at DC.
He still sucks.
Yes. So here we are at the tail end of the New 52 Batman Superman series. This is the last regular arc of this book before it gets involved in the last days of Superman crossover. And then
it gets involved at the last day of Superman crossover at the last minute because there are 3 extra issues in the trade with this story.
Yeah, which I've not read, and I'm now curious to read at some point because I have not read them.
From the looks of it, it's a story where Batman fights Superman's rogues and Superman fights Batman's rogues because they team up to try and take each other out.
Huh. Actually sounds kind of fun.
I forgot who the writer is, but then I saw the writer and it was like, no, I don't need to read this week.
Oh, I will check that out at some point. I just don't have the time. Did not have the time. Okay, but here we are, and this is a perfectly inoffensive story.
I actually enjoyed it. It gets a little too complicated in spots, a little too overwritten. But I thought, one, it was imaginative, at least in the respect of we don't often see giant space aliens that dwarf like Batman and Superman. Like, I just finished reading Neil deGrasse Tyson's Take Me to Your Leader, and he makes a point in that our conception of aliens is generally fairly limited in that we think of the kind of the same physical presentations. You don't often see this type of like gigantic, just massive space aliens. So I thought that was an interesting take. And then I really loved the ending. This is exactly how Batman and Superman should act. There's a whole bunch of nonsense. There's a whole bunch of super sons and bad evil dads and whatever. But at the end of the day, we have a guy at this point who doesn't matter in the scope of the universe, who's not even human, but Batman and Superman take the time to just be with him in his last moments. And that was such just a touching, absolutely heart-rending moment, and I loved it, and it was rendered beautifully, and it was really like Tom Taylor at his best. And this had to be one of his earliest works, right?
One of his earliest works in the mainstream DCU.
Yeah.
Injustice had been running for quite a while by this point.
Not as long as you'd think, but it ran for quite a bit. I think this is year 3 of Injustice.
Yeah, right around when I think he's just transitioning out of writing Injustice and coming into the mainstream DC universe.
It was Injustice because Convergence does start off with a whole fucking justice. Am I right? Earth 2 is where it's at, yo.
Yep. Tom Taylor writes through issue 7 of year 3, and this is 2013. It started in 2013. So yeah, this would be right around the time when he is handing Injustice off to Buccellato and is starting to write this, and probably around the time of All New Wolverine over at Marvel, which is really where All New Wolverine is 2015 to 2018. So yeah, we're a little bit into All New Wolverine. So it's when he's starting to break out and not just be the guy who wrote Injustice and one forgotten Star Wars series at Dark Horse, which was his first real American comics gig.
I mean, at this point, he also wrote a bunch of Earth, too.
Oh yeah, that's true. But yes, I agree. The ending of this is absolutely Tom Taylor at his best. But
Yes.
but this is also
There's a lot of nonsense in the middle.
This is one of the last New 52 Superman stories as well.
this,
Very next story, he dies.
Yep. And Taylor's Superman here reads a lot more like Prime Earth Superman than New 52 Superman. And the relationship between Batman and Superman reads much more like the traditional Prime Earth interaction than it does the New 52, much more paranoid Batman, much more standoffish Superman relationship.
Ugh, yeah, that stuff is exhausting. It was a very comfortable, trusting relationship here, which was nice.
Batman was annoyed that Superman took down Clayface for him, but
Yeah.
you gotta solve the mystery on the moon.
Yes.
So Clayface gotta go down.
He does.
Look, we got stuff to take care of. We can't be fucking around with Clayface.
The mystery mostly works. The thing that would have made it work a little better is if they'd made it more clear that the guy who hires Lobo in issue 1 was a cutout, that he wasn't the guy who was actually behind all this, or if they had done Lobo being hired by someone off panel. Because we have no reason to know who that guy is later in the story. So either Lobo should have been seen talking to someone off panel, and then it would have been the father of the murdered giant alien lady who killed his own daughter. Or it should have been clear that the guy who hires Lobo in issue 1 who is working for someone else, because it feels like a cheap mislead somewhat. But that's also expecting a play for mystery, which it doesn't have to be. And this is one of the last appearances of the New 52 Lobo as well, where they decided to be, hey, what if Lobo was played by Robert Pattinson? Which was a choice.
Hot, young, sexy Lobo.
Who was immediately thereafter imprisoned in science cells in one of the Green Lantern books.
He was shoved in a bottle, left in a bottle.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they just bring Lobo back during Justice League versus Suicide Squad, traditional Lobo, and it's as if this version of Lobo never happened. And Rocha doesn't draw him as pretty as he's drawn elsewhere. Like the Lobo ongoing, his hair is much shorter. Like here, he's got kind of the wild mane of Lobo hair. In that book, he is really drawn to look like Edward Cullen from Twilight, only with Charnian coloration.
His young, hot looks were meant to capture the young, hot looks of, I guess, Will's eyes. Did Lobo do it for you in this comic, Will?
No.
As he shouldn't.
The biggest problem this story has is Lobo. He's very boring in this 3 issues.
Yes, because in this story, he could have been replaced by any other bounty hunter character, and the story wouldn't have been affected. This story didn't need to be Lobo versus Batman and Superman.
Well, more like Lobo versus Batman, because Lobo's the one who's attacking Batman for his half of the story, because no witnesses to the crime of trying to trap Superman in the sun? Question mark?
And whatever the opposite of patricide is, whatever you killing your child. There's some good moments with Batman also interacting with that alien before he realizes that he killed his daughter, with Bruce's own understanding of the pain of losing family.
The fact that the daughter left a clue at all when she could have just been loyal in the end, and she took the effort in her last effort to make a message so Batman and Superman could solve this problem of we haven't really talked about what the problem is. There's a Daxamite trapped in a sun.
Right. At a point where the thing that we get here is not necessarily a problem with the New 52. I mean, there are plenty of problems. But the fact that the Justice League of this universe did not really interact intergalactically. So they do give an explanation as to why the Justice League, why these aliens would know about the Justice League. That does make sense. That if you're on a planet that actually fought off Darkseid, the universe will take notice. But here, Superman does not immediately realize that this is a Daxamite and not a Kryptonian. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if New 52 Superman ever interacted with Daxamites because Mon-El didn't, as far as we know, really exist here. So he didn't have the grounding that he had in Daxam and the Daxamites in the main continuity.
I assumed that they were more or less Kryptonian,
The
just
Daxamites,
not actual Kryptonians.
They're Kryptonians, but instead of their weakness, Kryptonians' weakness to Superman, to Kryptonite, Daxamites are weak to lead.
Vulcans, and Romulans.
Ah, very good.
Separate but similar paths. So there you go.
Which was why they still had a common language.
Yes. That this guy was able to understand Daxamite and Kryptonian are like Spanish and French. They're both Romance languages. If you know one, you can kind of pick up a good amount of the other.
Batman dabbles.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, he does.
Batman steals a universal translator, I think.
Yep, from
Green Lanterns, because Green Lanterns are the way the villain, but big lizard dude is defeated.
And I do wonder about that. Oh, they've traveled in areas that the Guardians haven't even been to. I'm like, I don't know how that works. Unless it's like the Vega sector where the Guardians have specifically have an arrangement with the locals about we're not allowed in here for political reasons. The Guardians have been doing this forever. So I don't know if there's areas of space where they don't have any idea about. But again, for the story to work.
There are parts of space that are not sectors. I know that Guardians do send Green Lanterns to explore the unexplored spaces sometimes. So there is an area and plus source wall stuff. Beyond the source wall, who knows what's out there.
But yeah, this story is probably at its best when it's Batman and Superman interacting, and at that very end point when they've got Cybar, the Daxamite, and we get them showing the compassion. But it's in itself it's a fine story.
And the bits where Superman just smashes.
Yes.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, there's a Superman disguised as Batman moment, so
that was pretty good.
And the giant lizard guy thinking, well, I'm just gonna squash you, and then slamming his hand on a nail. Like, oh, you look at that and it's like, oh, that looks like it hurts. And
that was imaginative.
And Superman had already revealed himself to be Superman, so that guy was just dumb. It's not like he thought he was squashing Batman. It's like, no, he knows this guy's a Kryptonian and he's still trying to squash him.
Supercharged Kryptonian because he was in Big Sun.
And I think the science fiction idea of, okay, Kryptonians absorb sunlight using a Kryptonian as a battery, that is a neat little idea. It's all the Mishigas around it that makes it a bit too complex.
Yeah, and that this guy happens to be dying. That's fairly convenient for the story.
It's partially setting up that next arc because the last days of Superman is all about Superman having gone through all of these this and a few other incidents that have overcharged his powers, and his powers are now killing him. So this is part of the setup for the event.
It's accidentally thematic.
Yeah, sometimes it just works that way.
Because this 3 issues could have been told really anywhere post the first year of the New 52.
And it doesn't completely line up with, I think, what's going on in the other Superman titles at this point.
Yeah, this takes place before the events of The Truth and Savage Dawn, where Vandal Savage tries to fight Superman and destroy the Earth. And Superman's known as Clark Kent.
Oh, the New
Because
52.
the New 52 was not kind to Superman.
No.
With Batman, you got a few ideas, like the Court of Owls, the close relationship with Robin, Duke Thomas, Harper Row. You got shit from the New 52 that still lasts in Superman, besides maybe the King of the Phantom Zone, Sanju?
Yeah, he's about it. I really should go back and read the Jean Luen Yang stuff. I really like Jean Luen Yang, but wait, Kenan Kong was after. Kenan Kong is Rebirth. So yeah, I was gonna say, but we got that, but no, that Jean Luen Yang stuff is after. So never mind, there isn't even that. But yeah, unless anyone has anything else, I think I'm ready for this.
I'm ready to put it on a list.
That means it's time to put Batman Superman 28 to 30 Universe's finest on the big board.
Just call it Big Lizard versus Batman v Superman and Superman.
We are at 744 stories on the big board.
God damn.
Number 1 is Post-Crisis Origin of Batman, Batman Year 1.
Still, Sexy 69, it's Batman Annual number 4 from Volume 3, Every Day.
At 175 is the Harvey Bullock solo, A Bullet for Bullock. At 350 is Shark Bite. One of the Paul Dini Batman Detective Comics one-offs.
Coming in real high, not nearly as close to the bottom as it once was. At number 420, it's Detective Comics 827 Double Talk.
At 525 is Luthor, You're Driving Me Sane, the story where Lex Luthor gets Joker's insanity and Joker gets Luthor's genius.
What a delightful book.
And all the way at the bottom, 744, 3 Jokers.
Not a delightful story. A bad one, in fact.
What's at 690?
At 690 is And Red All Over, where Stephanie Brown nearly kills Mr. Zsasz when she was Robin.
Yeah, this one goes way above that.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be a controversial statement. I think this is a story of the night.
No,
yes.
That is not a controversial statement at all.
Yeah.
No. So controversial and so brave.
I thought this story was but by default it got up there tonight.
I thought this story is okay to good.
I was disappointed by the use of Lobo. New 52 Lobo. Play up the angst in that young little boy. He's the last survivor. Make him a little edgy the hedgy.
So does this make it out of Trifle Town, Will?
The end did make me cry. So I always give a bit of a bump to anything that makes me cry. Because I don't feel inside.
Okay, so then we're going above. Trifle Town begins at 465 with Mad Men Across the Water. So we're going above that. However,
I think this clears 400, but I'm not sure how far into the 300s it makes it.
What's 400 right now?
400 is 0 year, which is just too long by multiple issues.
Yeah, this story's at least works. It's done. It's a done in 3, so I appreciate that.
Tell you what, I think this is a good comparison here. I don't think it beats 372 Deceased.
Yeah, that's better.
No, it doesn't beat Hope World's End.
So I'm thinking somewhere between 372 and 400.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm just trying to find the spot where This is
an interesting little Tom Taylor pocket, because Injustice Volume 1 is at 390. And Injustice would be higher if not for the shit art, as always.
Yeah.
And the art here is perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah. Robson Rocha does a good job with the art here. I'm looking at some of the stuff around here. What about a couple spots above that? What about the new 388 in between Prey and the Gotham Villains 80th Anniversary Giant?
I like it.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Our second story of the night is Daddy Issues. This is Teen Titans Volume 6, numbers 31 to 38. The writer is Adam Glass with plot assists by Bernard Chang, pencils by Chang and Sean Chen, inks by Chang, Norm Rapmond, and Scott Hanna, colors by Marcello Maiolo, Ivan Placencia, and Hi-Fi Designs, letters by Rob Lee, and edited by Brian Cunningham, Alex Antone, Andrea Shea, and Jamie S. Rich. The cover dates are August of 2019 to March of 2020. The mysterious crime lord called The Other has hired Lobo to kill the Teen Titans. At their lowest, torn apart by secrets and murder, the Titans must face Lobo and discover both the traitor in their midst and the identity of the Other.
Before we get started, how about a story about Adam Glass? Kind of.
Okay.
All right. Dan will appreciate this. This is for you, Dan. So this was 5, 6, 7 years ago, back when Aftershock was a going concern. And Adam Glass had a series at Aftershock called Rough Riders. And it was basically League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but with like Teddy Roosevelt and Amelia Earhart and Thomas Edison and like those types. And I was moderately curious about that, so I reached out to Aftershock and was like, "Hey, I want to write about this. Let me interview Adam Glass and do a thing." And they were like, "Sure," because hey, it's free publicity for us. And I'm working with Adam to get this interview scheduled. And I have learned certainly that you don't interview an author about a new series without being able to read the book and ask decent questions about the book. And so I asked Adam, "Hey man, you send me a review copy so I can read it and we can talk about it?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, not a problem." I am walking into dinner with my then wife. It was a Friday night, and Aftershock's PR guy calls me. And when I say that he is a fucking asshole, he was the world's like king of asshole. This guy was an absolute prick. He was such a prick that me and like a couple of other like comic website, editors went to Aftershock's editor in chief and was like, "Hey, your PR guy is a nightmare. Fucking get rid of him." And he was like, we'll think about it." Did they get rid of him? No, they didn't. So anyway, this guy calls me and chews my ass out again on a Friday night just for asking for a review copy. And I'm like, "You are a dick. You are a fucking dick." Adam was fine though. It's just an absolute, regular ass dude. And I had a good time talking to him about Rough Riders. But yeah, Aftershock, may it rest in peace, legendarily bad PR guy. I don't know what his fucking problem was, but he was a fucking disaster every single time. Okay, that's the end of that story.
So
I'm pretty sure you told that story the last time I gave you an Adam Glass comic.
Probably.
it's your Adam Glass story,
It's my Adam Glass story.
I can't wait to hear it again in 3 weeks.
So this is one trade, and all of these sort of mini arcs are tied together.
They're tied together by the bad guys.
But what gets me is you reveal the identity of the Other, which has been running through this series for a while now, and then the Other is gone in an issue and a half when there's so much to unpack with the reveal of the identity of the Other.
The Other's the reason why we can call this a Batman story, by the way.
And I mean, there's plenty of Damian in here, but you are using, and spoilers if you care, you are bringing back the Heretic, the Damian clone from Batman Inc. You are bringing back this dark mirror of Damian who killed Damian and he's there for an issue's worth of page space, and then falls to his death like a Disney villain.
This story was exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd make a Teen Titans comic like this run. With the edgy secret prisons, the mistrust, all the teens hating each other and doing terrible shit to each other. Having one of your cast members do an identity crisis.
Please, let's stop with the identity crisis. Like, let that go. Please.
This is a character regression for Damian. This feels like the Damian of the late pre-Flashpoint and New 52, the callous, cold Damian who hasn't spent time learning.
Part of you has to think about it for a moment. It's like, oh right, this is around the time of 5G, where Damian was supposed to become Ra's al Ghul, I think.
Possibly. All that stuff with what might have been 5G is iffy. It's a mess.
Yeah, at this point, Damian was foreshadowed to be a big bad, at the very least.
And fortunately, that didn't go that way because it ignored all of the character evolution that Morrison and Tomasi had done with the character for years. But on top of that, you have just the mess that is all the rest of these Titans. I mean, we're at the point where no one is sure what to do with this version of Kid Flash now that Wally West is back. Because this was introduced to be the new Wally West, only now when you've brought back the original Wally West, no one was quite sure what to do. And they were calling him Wallace, which seemed very stiff. And eventually Ace works better. But here we're getting bits of the stuff going on in Flash with the death of the Speed Force. And as always, we're in the middle of a big, messy run up to an event with Year of the Villain. So that's where we get the symbol of doom in the sky and Apex Lex going around and offering villains deals.
And in this case, Lobo gets a deal.
And you do the identity crisis on Lobo at the end of one issue, and then Lex
issue 32.
At the end of issue 32, and then Lex fixes him 2 pages into issue 33. There's zero reason to have done anything to his mind when they also then chained him up on the moon. Why didn't they just chain him up on the moon?
Lobo is such an asshole in this comic.
Oh, he's a complete monster, but there's sometimes when Lobo's at his best. I mean, there is a mini series from the 90s, I believe, called Lobo Infanticide, where he basically spends the entire mini series traveling the universe and killing all of the bastard spawn he has left. Or they go to try to kill him and then he kills them all. But he winds up killing all of his bastard spawn.
That's an interesting pitch for a book.
Alan Grant could get away with murder.
And they, granted, did do the same thing with Wolverine, only Wolverine, they definitely were trying to kill him. Like this entire cult dedicated to murdering Wolverine because they were all of his descendants, all of the spawn.
Yeah, but that one happened in 2010, so it's okay.
And was written by Jason Aaron, so was probably, I mean, I was going to say it's probably better, but I love Alan Grant, but I just don't love Lobo.
You haven't read a lot of Alan Grant, the edgy comedian.
I've read his Dread, but that works with Dread. That's the thing. With Dread, it works. He was trying to do Lobo as Dread, but people wanted Lobo to be taken more seriously than that. There are 3 arcs within this bigger arc. There is the Lobo trying to kill Crush stuff at the beginning. There is
2 issues.
Yep. Then there's the traitor within the Titans stuff. And then there's the confrontation with the other.
It's tied together by a bunch of background stuff.
Yeah, with the other having hired Lobo and...
Yeah. It makes sense to call this one arc.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Titans? All 6 of them.
Well, they're a friggin' mess. I mean, these are not characters who logically work together. But because I mean, you've got Damian, Kid Flash, Red Arrow, and Miko Queen, who you basically have two Damians on one team.
For people wondering about Emiko, she just killed Matt's other least favorite character, Deathstroke, in issue before this story.
Of course, they pull the
I
arrow
love how
out of
they
his...
reference that 15 times in this story too.
And of course, you pull the arrow out of his eye and he regenerates, so he's fine. Didn't actually kill him. Then Crush, daughter of Lobo, Jin, the freed genie, and Roundhouse, the part plastic man, part absorbing man kind of thing.
A bouncy blue boy is what I call him in my notes.
Bouncing boy from the Legion, but he can turn himself into different substances as well.
I just called him my blue son, which makes it kind of heartwarming that he's the traitor. Because Damian screwed up in a bad way. Got his sister killed.
See, that is the biggest sin of this book. That there are so many plot lines, none of them get any room to breathe. There should have been more time spent with the other. There should have been more time, if you were going to have this big reveal about Roundhouse's origin, there should have been more time spent with Roundhouse interacting with the Titan and interacting with Damian. And his fit of pique that locks Jin inside the ring that controls her is completely unearned by everything going on. It's just, okay, we need to get to the next plot point, and we need to get something that really pisses off Damian and Crush. So there you go.
Because Damian, Crush, and Jin are in a messy glove triangle, baby.
And I think there should be some things in stories that are absolutely unforgivable. Like, a character should do a thing that you can't come back from. Anakin Skywalker killing younglings, like, that should be the it. There's no redemption for that character after you kill children. And in this story, when Roundhouse does that, that should be it. There should not be some kind of coming back together moment for him with the team. That shit is just unbelievable and obnoxious. Like, some things are unforgivable. You have to have values and standards and just some sort of moral clarity as a character. And Damian should absolutely say, you forcibly imprisoned not just us in the dungeon, but you imprisoned her perhaps forever in this ring because you got your feelings hurt. Fuck out of here forever. Be grateful that I don't kill you.
But here's the thing, Will. Damian can't have the high ground because he operated a secret Black Ops prison just a storyline ago.
But if you're going to redeem Roundhouse, that has to be a thing. You have to spend an arc of him doing everything he can to try to get her out of the ring, to prove that he is trying to do good. Not, he shows up, he busts them out of the other's prison, and all is forgiven.
Oh, well, he has to go home and talk to his mom first.
To be fair. Final 3 issues of Adam Glass's run is about freeing Jin from her ring. So that might be in that arc.
Fair, but it seems like he's already kind of forgiven here before going through all that, and it's just...
I want to talk about how awful it is that Lobo mind-controlled his daughter to do multiple crimes, including murder, and then he just leaves the book without getting a beating.
But again, Adam Glass wasn't interested in dealing with the rest of Lobo. He now had the other. And thematically, what kills me is that there's clearly an attempt to tie all of this together with theme. Because the underlying mess of this story is about family. Lobo and his daughter Crush, Roundhouse and his dead sister, Jin and her awful brother Elias, and Damian and the other. there is this idea that we are interrogating all of these complicated family relationships and theoretically talking about Emiko and her mother Shadow, the assassin, Wallace and his criminal dad, the New 52 Reverse Flash, and of course Damien and Talia. But it's not theme if it's all there just being brought up like, oh, by the way, we're all connected by this, but you don't interrogate any of it. And the other
is the heretic who spent his time walking the world, learning about the other, because the other's a legacy. So the heretic killed the original other and took over his network, and the other's dying, so he wants Damien to replace him.
I really want to know how resurrection in the Lazarus pit works after you've been beheaded. Because it looks like he had his head stitched onto his neck since Talia beheaded him. And then they dunked him in the Lazarus pit, and somehow that brought him back. Beheading is real difficult to resurrect somebody from.
It's a magic lake, Matt. It can do anything.
Yes, I suppose it can. I have two just sort of general notes that aren't particularly story specific. One is I wonder if calling this new Damien the Other might be Adam Glass referencing a foundational horror novel from the 70s called The Other, which is about a set of identical twins, one of whom is good and one of whom is evil. It just made me think of that book. The Other is the second issue when they're fleeing Lobo is set in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where Amber is from. And that's, I mean, yeah, there is rural area and there are those red barns, but it's actually all the kind of unincorporated little towns outside of Williamsport. Williamsport's actually something of a city. In between, it's sort of dead center in between Pittsburgh and Philly, and is one of the few bastions of anything bordering close to culture in the middle of Pennsylvania. So it's like if it were Quiggleville, which is also a place out there, that I would have absolutely expected. I mean, I guess it could be the outskirts of Williamsport, but still, I spent a lot of time in Williamsport, and it doesn't remind me of Williamsport. It reminds me of the unincorporated areas outside of Williamsport. But yes, those are just two little things that I immediately saw. And again, we're not even talking about them identity crisising a whole bunch of villains, all of whom sort of wind up back to normal eventually. There's just
Adam Glass leaves in 3 issues, and some poor writer has to clean up the rest of the series. That poor writer was Robbie Thompson.
Oh,
Robbie
wow.
Thompson's the poor writer who had to clean this up.
Forgets one more arc on this book to get things squared away before Infinite Frontier and Teen Titans Academy.
Yeah.
Which was also something of a mess, but Thompson's run begins right around the same time as City of Bane.
Spoilers. Damien leaves the team during that last arc, because I'm gonna guess the Bat Office said, no, you can't have Damien run a secret prison. You lose your Robin privileges, Teen Titans editors.
And it winds up then, of course, moving Damien over into the Josh Williamson stuff that we talked about last week, which is considerably better than any of this mess.
I like the first half of this volume written by Ben Percy, but that kind of got screwed over by having 3 crossovers in a 7-month period.
Oh, yeah.
We ready?
Yeah.
That means it's time. But Teen Titans Volume 6, 31 to 38, Daddy Issues on the big board. The structure for this story was absolutely infuriating. Just nothing seemed to be resolved this entire time. And look, I get the idea of having a story that's perpetually in motion. But god damn it, we have got to get to an end point on some of this stuff eventually. Like, I fucking hated all of the references to Deathstroke. Like, yes, I know he is dead. Let's resolve that.
Well, that's resolved in his book.
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't. This just felt like a story that was having an argument with me that just wouldn't stop. So it was very frustrating and entirely too long. And that's really where some of the I'm not saying this is the absolute worst story, because I don't think there's any problematic content in here.
Yeah.
But the worst stories that we read are the ones that just won't quit. And this is definitely one of those.
It both doesn't quit, and it just ends suddenly with the heretic falling off the cliff and Lobo fucking off to space.
Right. So that puts us above 699. That is where problematic territory begins. Everything below 699 is either problematic or just so utterly poorly structured, and Gotham by Gaslight, which needs to be re-ranked. But aside from that, it is all either awfully structured, or actually there's 2 or 3 down there that really need to be re-ranked because they don't belong down there. They need to get out of problematic town because they are not problematic.
Look, if you tell me it's the last Batman story, you better deliver. I don't think
What
this
the-
beats Scourge of the Owls, Talon 0 to 7 at 636.
Mr. Wayne Goes to Washington's better than this. How about Bruce? Is this better or worse than Bruce Wayne Not Super?
The sequel comes out next month.
Oof. I did distinctly hate Catwoman Election Night at 653, but that was shorter.
Yeah, I think we're in an area because this is a lot of Golden Age stuff and a lot of stuff like America versus the Justice Society at 671. Again, it has a certain charm to it.
It certainly does. So are we give or take between 670 and 700?
Yes. I think 673 City of Crime is also way too long, but I think does better stuff with its theme, despite it forgetting its theme and wandering afield for a while than this does.
I might put this above Golden Dawn at 680 simply because I think the author there might be illiterate.
At the very least, it goes above Manslaughter and that confusing pro-feminist story that feels bad for what it's supposed to be of teaming up all the female heroes in the DC universe to fight a plague.
But is written like it's a teleplay, not like it's a comic. I think above Golden Dawn, below Injustice Year 4, so new 680 is the way to go.
Perfect.
And our final story of the night is The Batman Who Frags. This is Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hours Exxxtreme #1. The writers are...
You're saying it wrong. It's Exxxtreme #1.
Yes, but I wasn't going to shout into the mic and deafen you all. The writers are Frank Thierry, Becky Cloonan, and Sam Humphries, with pencils by Tyler Kirkham, Rags Morales, and Dennis Cowan, inks by Kirkham, Morales, and Bill Sienkiewicz, colors by Arif Prianto, Andrew Dalhouse, Chris Sotomayor, letters by Dave Sharp and Rob Lee, and edited by Liz Erickson. The cover date is January of 2021. Lobo has been hired by Lex Luthor to retrieve the reality-altering death metal to help in the battle against Perpetua and the Darkest Night. But Lobo is being hunted by the one dark Batman who might be able to stop him. A Batman merged with Charnian DNA. The Batman Who Frags.
Let me just say first that if you're doing Batman crossed with Solomon Grundy, I think you should stop. I think you have ruined a good idea and that you should just quit. And that's before getting to the Batman crossed with Lobo.
Well, Solomon Grundy Batman appears after Batman Lobo.
Yeah.
Or by its Christian name, Black Monday.
You've just taken, again, what was a good idea, and you have run it all the way into the ground, and you should just stop.
This was my prank to get you to read a Lobo comic.
This was a story that did not need to be. This story is a dark multiverse of, yeah, we didn't need to write this. It just didn't need to exist. And yet it existed because we thought we could squeeze one more book into this event. I got tooling around on Comixology and just looking at some of these books that were in the dark metal event that I didn't read, and I'm like, God damn, there were too many books in this thing.
And if you want to make Will read all of those too many books, subscribe on patreon.com.
Because that's the only way we're reading many of them. Oh, yes.
Oh boy. Now look, we definitely need to read sexy drowned female bat lady.
That's in the original metal. This is death metal.
Oh man, we are far past the time of drawing distinctions like that. But yeah, that's the only other book I'd be interested in reading from any metal series. The rest of these are just why.
I remember the Doomsday Batman being pretty interesting.
The Devastator, I believe.
Yes, that sounds right.
You don't have to read the Robin King, though. That
Ugh.
one sucks.
And I would want to read the actual Batman Who Laughs one shot as well. But nonetheless, none of those are the things we're covering right here.
No, alas.
I will say, when the Batman Who Frags first pops up and Lobo addresses him as Frazetta Batman, I actually got a chuckle out of that line.
I got a chuckle out of Lobo killing a whole Bardalian with the bartender's arm.
Yeah, that's a very Lobo moment. I will point out that on Infinite, pages 36 and 37 are a 2-page spread that I feel like the person who was digitizing this had just given up by that point, and instead of actually doing it as a 2-page spread where you'd need to, flip your iPad or screen reader, it's just 2 individual pages and you have to keep flipping back and forth between them to read across.
Yeah.
This broke whoever was actually digitizing it, and they didn't even try to digitize that the way they should have, because they're like, no one's going to read this. I can't do it.
I'm gonna hope that the Comixology version did it the right way, and I just read the story and I didn't fail to understand that those 2 pages were together.
I want to give some credit to DC, to the DC reading app, because they're releasing the DC Finest DC Universe Infinite, which includes the horror book, the science fiction book, a bunch of Bronze Age Robin stories that you can now request on Patreon for Matt and Will to cover.
I am really excited that they're releasing a lot of that weird stuff through Infinite. If you've got the premium tier, I'm very excited by that.
It's a nice compromise to the fact that they don't have an archiving department anymore.
This thing is a gigantic mess of a comic.
I got mad by the creative talent wasted in this comic.
Yes. There are some good writers and some good artists involved in this thing. And I feel like DC, none of these people are going to be able to write more than, 12 pages of this. So let's just split it up.
Except Frank Thierry could. That's his wheelhouse of writing kind of bad offensive comics.
Yeah. Frank the Tank absolutely does write a lot of stuff like this. Becky Cloonan and Rags Morales, for God's sake. They are both better than this.
Sam Humphries was better than this. Bill Sienkiewicz is better than
Dennis
this.
Cowan. But yeah, this is just like...
Frank Thierry can stay on this book.
When you brought this up, I thought that this was just a Frank Thierry comic.
I thought it was too. So when I saw the credits, I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? How dare there be more than one writer? This is what Frank Thierry does. If you take this away from Frank Thierry, then what the hell is he supposed to do? Let the man write these kinds of comics.
And you're packing so much stuff into this comic. My usual argument or my statement is something like, you're not giving it enough time to breathe. No, because none of it deserved the time to breathe. None of this needed to be there.
This comic does 3 chapters by 3 different creative teams. The Frank Thierry one's probably the best.
The Frank Thierry one is
the bar.
Yeah, and it's the one that has the most Lobo-iness to it in the beginning. The middle the Becky Cloonan
Batman chapter with Black Monday, the Solomon Grundy Batman hybrid.
Right, the Becky Cloonan.
There's something there with Lobo kind of relating to Black Monday of how he wants friends, but he's such a big badass, but he still manages to save Hawkman at the end of the chapter
for no reason. I mean, I guess because he's pushing him through the portal, so he goes through first.
Well, no. There's a reason. It's because Hawkman's a main character of the DC universe, so you can't just let him die to the Batman who frags.
Except he's freaking Hawkman, so his whole shtick, he's second only to him, Ra's al Ghul, and Vandal Savage. These motherfuckers can't die. They always come back. Yeah, that whole chapter is a lot of... That's the engine of, okay, Lobo needs to get the death metal. So this is the chapter about Lobo getting the death metal. And then we get these pages of Loboized origins of the Trinity.
Oh, by the way, Batman's parents get shot, so you can't say this isn't a Batman comic.
Yeah, and I mean, the Batman who frags is technically a Bruce Wayne. It's not like he's just a Lobo wearing a Batman costume. He is a Bruce Wayne. But then you get Lobo basically being Q for the third chapter of Lobo with this infinite power fucking with Brainiac and then trapping the Batman who frags in a pocket dimension. And then it's just like to be continued in Death Metal number 5, where this is barely referenced and it's just like, okay, yeah, now Lex has the death metal. Ta-da.
Lobo shows up, so hooray? Question mark? How do you feel about the structure, Will?
I mean, I feel like this is time I'm not going to get back in my life. It was not offensive, but I didn't learn anything. I wasn't amused. It wasn't integral to the event. It wasn't clever. It wasn't special. It was a waste of my time.
Then you learned one thing. What a Lobo comic feels like to read.
Yes, this is absolutely a Lobo comic. And, I mean, we don't get any explanation other than Bruce injected himself with Charnian DNA. I mean, I guess you could do a whole thing where basically Lobo's DNA is so powerful that he is now basically Lobo, which is what it is. But we don't have any time explaining how any of that Batman who frags thing works.
There's weirdly very little Batman who frags in this comic.
Yeah. And when he's flying his Batwing and blowing up Black Hawk Island, the helmet he's wearing makes him look like Hordak from He-Man and She-Ra, which was a weird moment. Like, wait, is Hordak attacking them?
Does Hordak have a Joker cycle?
Yeah.
The motorcycle Joker's head on it?
It's just a mess. It is just a big, messy thing. This is the kind of comic that you get that makes people really complain about crossovers.
Yep.
Because it does nothing. It feels like a shameless cash grab. And I just can't bring myself to care.
No, and again, it waters down the whole idea of the event. Like, it makes the whole event feel less important and less, to borrow a dumb word, magical.
Which is a shame, because there's some magical stuff in that event. Like Penguin turning into a giant penguin monster and killing dark multiverse versions of other penguins.
Death Metal was a bridge too far. The fact that I have so vague a recollection of it, and it has a lot of elements that I find very frustrating about a lot of the elements. The fact that the Dr. Manhattan stuff factors into it is not my favorite bit. It is a much messier event than even Metal was. Metal had a clearer through line than Death Metal did.
The thesis of Death Metal is Wonder Woman's cool, right?
Yeah. Basically, Snyder he's done 3 crossovers, and each of them focuses on one of the Trinity. Batman is in Metal, Wonder Woman is in Death Metal, and Superman is KO. So now he's completed the cycle. And Wonder Woman with a chainsaw that is using the lasso of truth as the chain, that's actually a kind of neat visual. And zombie Batman, I believe. It's been a long time. Yeah, he's a zombie. Batman's a zombie. Or a Black Lantern,
Yes.
I suppose.
Yes. And Superman's turning into a dark side.
There's a lot going on in Death Metal. Yeah, but this is messy. I think
That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I think we can wrap this one up.
Oh, that means it's time to put Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hour Extreme, the Batman Who Frags, on the big board. If it goes above Daddy Issues, it's only because it's shorter.
See, I don't think I can put it above Daddy Issues because for all of its faults, Daddy Issues is trying to tell a story. It is trying to do stuff with character. It fails, but it's trying. This is a mishmash of just stuff that really goes nowhere.
All right, then if it doesn't...
Can I throw a story out?
Mm-hmm.
Tales of the Dark Multiverse Batman Hush.
I was looking there because not only do we have that at 7:15, but we also have, and I know this is a different event, same ethos, same idea. We got Batman the Dawnbreaker at 7:23. I think this is less offensive than both of those stories.
Yes.
But we could possibly be in the right area if, again, this is not going to be higher than Daddy Issues.
This strikes me as something like right above Tales of the Dark Multiverse is Batman Mask, which is one of these books that is not problematic in this range, but is so poorly structured that it winds up down here. Chasing Clay at 719 is also one of these things that is so poorly put together.
An interesting book that we have down here, Robin and Batman at 712. We both hated that book because it does so much violence to the character of Batman. And yet it is such a competently structured and written comic and for that matter, drawn. This is not offensive, but again, it also doesn't succeed as a story. So it's very interesting to compare to something like that.
Yeah.
I think the 3 spots of the Case of the Chemical Syndicate, The Wedding, and the Fishy Laugh is where this should be. Because Fishy Laugh's a bad Aquaman story. The Wedding is 2 different stories, one of which is pretty good, one of which is probably should be in the bottom 10.
In Case of the Chemical Syndicate isn't a Batman story, it's a Shadow story that just has Batman in it.
Yeah.
That might also be subject to re-ranking one of these days.
Yeah. I think
I'll tell you right now, Case of the Chemical Syndicate's probably better than this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I honestly think this is either above or below Fishy Laugh. Because Fishy Laugh is another one of these just incompetent. It's like, how did these creators create something so just poorly conceived?
I think this goes above Fishy Laugh because that story made me groan more. This was just just a waste of time. That was an annoying waste of time.
Okay, so the new 710. Whew, boy. Well, that was a night. John, thank you as ever for coming on the show. It is appreciated.
Thank you. If you want more Lobo content, please go to whatever podcast site you want, put a review, and put this review as 5 out of 5. I want more Lobo, and then I'll give you more Lobo.
I'll cry. But that does do it for this week. Next week, it's another anniversary episode, episode 250. And
My goodness.
Yep. And we are reading 3 stories where Bruce Wayne, not Batman, but Bruce Wayne, is suspected of murder. Remember, you can
Hey Matt, would that include Batman or Bruce Wayne murderer?
Indeed it will.
Oh, wow. Shock.
Remember, you can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/batchat with Matt and Will, where you can get shout outs.
And if you support them on Patreon, what's the bonus content for this month and next month?
This month, for July, we are seeing how far we can get into Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. Trying to get about halfway through. We're going to see if I've had the time to do that. I'm not quite there, but I've still got a couple of days. We'll see where I get. And,
yeah, we'll see what we can do.
And next
gotta
month,
see 4 movies, Matt.
Yeah. And next month will be the first half of the new season of Batman the Caped Crusader, coming to Amazon Prime at the end of the month. Hooray! Very excited. But yes, you can get shout outs, bonus content, pick a story, and even come on the show. We'd like to thank those Patreon backers: Dan Grote, Josh Wheel, Mrs. Abigail Hartbaum, Asma Fangirl, Tony Thornley,
Go Aggies.
Sam Hopper,
Go to bed, Sam. It is so very late.
John Wickham,
Hey, this guy.
Tim Rooney, Giorgio Sergioli, David Wheel,
World's greatest gray belt.
Alexander Wheel, Matt McThorne,
McThorny.
Dan Offer,
Danny boy, the pipes are calling.
Nate Randell, Daniel Mosley, Ross Holmes,
Mr. Randomass.
Will Crisp,
Me compadre.
Carlos Cordova, Jordan Jennings, Charlie Etheridge Nunn, Sean Shambly, The Final Wraith,
The scariest wraith.
Kyle Still,
Still the one.
Carolyn Smith,
Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba.
and Elle the Kaleidoscope Man
See such wonderful things.
for their support. This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music/Audible, YouTube Music, Podbean, and on comicsxf.com, where new episodes drop every Thursday. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I talk about comics and other random things, and Letterboxd, where I review all the movies I watch, both at MattLaz1013.
And I am at the good place and the bad place at Will Nevin, and on Goodreads, where I am almost done with How Not to Die in Prison. Matthew, did you know that you can take your toilet wine and distill that into toilet whiskey?
I did not.
Yeah, the toilet whiskey does better in prison. Gets you more money.
Well,
Things to know.
yeah, I was going to say,
Okay.
if I ever need to know that.
I'm going to get some water when my Walmart order delivery gets here, and then I'm going to go to bed. Good night, Huntsville.
And be sure to visit ComicsXF at comicsxf.com or ComicsXF on Blue Sky for our weekly Friday Batchat roundup of new Bat books. For my other show, the ComicsXF Interview Podcast, where my longtime best friend Dan Grote and I interview comics creators, retailers, publishers, journalists, and other related tradespeople, as well as all the other stuff Will and I are writing. And stay safe out there, folks. Gotham is not a place to be after dark.